Let me get you on camera. Where you from?
California.
No, for real. No, serious though.
Watts, baby.
I know where you from though. Where you from?
Eastside PJ Watts.
I'm from Grace 2 Rock, nigga.
Right.
They call you, homie?
Big Slice.
Big Slice?
Yes, yes.
All right, nigga. They call me Puto, cuz.
Right.
That person. Big shout out to SPI, Spotter LOC. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
I've often shared how, as a youngster, I was quite familiar with Baby Lane or Orlando Anderson due to my auntie, raising her family over in Southside Hood, and my cousin that was really friends with Baby Lane since a kid. And the reason why I got so acclimated to so many Southsides, he in a halfway house right now. And I've been recently thinking, he's not really a camera type dude, but he has a lot of history in his head of that area. And he's seen a lot. Now, since we're doing this vlogging and all that these days, I was just curious as if he would be interested or willing of giving me a tour over there, man. South Park, on Pearl, and Glencoe, and Burris, and show us a few things, man. Y'all cross your fingers that he'll be willing. I think that'll be some good content. However, I ran across this, and it was just a video that the title was speaking to what's really on Baby Lane, Orlando Anderson's crime record. And I thought it might be interesting, man. Rest in peace, Baby Lane, the motherfucking LOC. But with no further ado, we about to see what they say the Keyway had been up to.
Keep it 100. Do you think Tupac would have put hands on Orlando Anderson if he would have knew how dangerous he was?
Oh, my mama. Shout out to my boy Bigger, the Bigger Picture podcast. He's from New York, man, from Harlem, as a matter of fact. And I just did 2 episodes of his podcast. He was actually traveling here in California. This is his shirt, his brand. And he asked me about this. And I told him that this moment would have been the Mob Pyrus and Baby Lane at the most, exchanging a few words in that setting. They would not have went up like that, in my opinion. Just my knowledge of how things typically would have gone in that setting. They would have seen each other, whatever. We'll said a few somethings, and that was it. Tupac not really being acclimated to the climate of the environment of what's really going on. He overdid it. Let me say that.
Just let me know in the comments. Now let's get right into it. See, tonight we're not going to focus on the Tupac Vegas shooting. We're going to focus on the background of Orlando Anderson, because that was clearly a mistake. And that mistake was simple as putting your hands on the wrong person. See, if Pac would have knew the things that I'm about to tell you tonight about Orlando Anderson, he would have been out of Vegas ASAP. See, that wasn't the first time that gunplay was surrounding Orlando Anderson's name. We could take it 6 years prior to that. At the age 16 years old, he wanted to be a part of the Southside CRIPs. He was a YG. And the initiation was to shoot at police officers. Now, to be able to do that, you got to be 2 things. You either got to be super brave or super stupid. But at this point, he was only 16 years old. And a gun in a 16-year-old hand is 10 times dangerous than a gun in a grown man's hand. When you're 16, you're just reckless. But Baby Lane and 2 other homies plotted to take out police officers at a McDonald's. Now, they sat and waited for the officers to leave the drive-thru, and that's when they started firing.
McDonald's on Long Beach, right off of Alondra. There used to be that McDonald's, and the one on Rosecrans in Central were historically the most dangerous McDonald's in the history. I only know this because this used to be type of reports used to come out on the news and shit. Used to crack at both them 2 McDonald's. I remember Chico from Southside, when he was a little kid, taking the burners from the security guard. I remember he was so bad and it was such a normal thing. I remember Chico trying to take the security guard gun, being unsuccessful, and not going to jail or nothing. They just run him out the McDonald's. Crazy, cuz.
Weapons. The young gangsters did not leave the scene until the clip was empty. And we don't know if it was 2 guns or 1 gun or 3. The officers were able to survive the shooting, so the job wasn't done. But it was a brave act from the young men. Pretty much the point was already made. They was young and they was ready to bust their.
Bet you I know who his companion was on that mission, even though I don't know, I'm a guess. I bet you Lil Al was there. East Side.
Guns.
Free Lil Al, East Side. Michael DeRoe.
And it was able to impress the OGs because they attempted a dangerous act, a brave act, without even thinking. And they want little homies around them that they can take advantage of, especially during a war. So that was a good look for the crew. And every set needs crash dummies. But the hangout that Orlando Anderson and the homies were usually at was right behind the McDonald's. And they made one mistake, and the mistake was committing the act in front of witnesses. So as soon as they finished the shooting, they took off on foot, and their direction was pointed out by the witnesses. So it didn't take very long for the police to show up at the hangout. And when the police showed up, they took all three of them in. See, Orlando, he was 16 years old. He was a juvenile, so he got a slap on the wrist. Shooting at police officers is very serious, but these guys did not end up with serious charges. They was juveniles. It was only one person that actually had to do some time, and that was in juvie. But Orlando Anderson, he was released back on the streets like nothing happened. But again, Orlando Anderson and the homies did not get the job done, but it was good enough to get some type of rank. So he was down with the Southside Crips. So all of this was going on during the 80s. And then into the 90s, that's when they started to get wild. And when I say wild, I'm not talking about Compton, because Compton was wild in the 80s. I'm talking about Orlando Anderson. So back then, a lot of people thought that gangbanging was only about color, but it wasn't. It was about territory, especially when drugs started to come.
My boy Big asked me what's the biggest misconception that him as a New Yorker and other New Yorkers may have about Cali and the gang situation. And I spoke to it, that of it being about colors. That was basically my answer, in short.
Come in the mix. When it came to drug business, it didn't matter what color, it didn't matter what set. Business was business. But it also had guys from the same set killing each other. Guys was branching off, different factions, Crips killing Crips, Pyrus killing Pyrus. That's just how things.
And like, what was it, 94, 95? Or 93? It might have been 93. The Southsides, they had a war with each other. Basically, from my understanding, it was like the Glencoe block against the Birds block. Baby Lane was with the Birds boys. But Glencoe was like a real major hangout right there. I remember I got into a squabble with Sane from Atlanta Drive. Shout out to my nigga Sane from Atlanta Drive. We ended up go to prison together. And since we been out, we was young. We spoke on Facebook and all that. Cuz kind of moved out. But yeah, East Side, they went to war, baby. And in that war, Baby Lane got shot in the head by his homies, Graves, but survived. East Side.
Things went. Now, during the 80s, when it comes to the Southside Crips, it was about unity. And then when we head into the 90s, when drugs started to get involved, man, the Southside Crips, they split into two different factions. And it all came from bad business. It came from a drug debt.
Something to do with the Hoovers. They had it cracking over there. I remember one of their big homies, I think it was Fink. I could be wrong. It's old information at this point. But he had a brother from Hoover. And they was doing something. And I believe the beef started with the Hoovers. I know at one point somebody was playing a video game in they hood, and then somebody came and chopped him down while he was in there, and it went up.
Bad business between two Southside Crip members. So when they couldn't see eye to eye, one person went one way, the other person went the other. And that's when people start picking sides. And then you had some people that decided to stay neutral. I mean, they was kind of like OGs. So, they had the right, but of course, the young bulls, they was forced to choose a side. The Southside Crips decided to split into two different factions. With Keefy D, Orlando Anderson, and all them, they became the Board Street Crew. So the internal war within the Southside Crips began to cause more and more bodies to drop. It actually confused law enforcement. In 1995, Baby Lane and Michael DeRoe rolled up on a Southside Crip from another.
Marlo, told you, I bet you cuz went to bust at the police with him, bet you. cause the demon east side.
Faction named Damian Long, with DeRoe pulling the trigger, actually killing Long right on the spot. See, looking at all this, you'll start to learn that Baby Lane and Michael DeRoe is just two people you do not want to see together. When Baby Lane and Michael DeRoe is together, it's nothing less than a homicide. And when you read the paperwork, when you see those two names by each other, man, there's a shootout, there's a death.
No extras on nothing. Like, this is my childhood friends. I ask wherever you at, whoever can get in touch. You ask, I'm in touch with Mike DeRoe to this day on my mama. Even played a major part in a rally in Compton City Hall a few years ago. His father doing life too, but we trying to get Junior out on my mama. And one of the reasons why I've maintained such a level of respect for Reggie Wright, not only Junior, but Senior as well, is because they both have been vocal and active. They're not capable of doing much, but they both have been assistive in us trying to get Mike DeRoe back out here amongst the free. So a lot of the petty shit that you see people yap about and talk about, over my head, unconcerned. Shout out to Reggie Wright, Senior and Junior. Free the Keyway, ESAP, out the cage.
It's some dark shit. Now, by this point, Baby Lane is just getting himself hot. He cannot stay out of trouble. His name is attached wherever the wreck is. April of 1996, Baby Lane will be one of the guys identified by witnesses for the murder of a Palmer Block CRIP member named Albert Webb. And mind you,
those that don't know, the Southside Compton and Palmer Block beef is one of the most notorious beefs from back in the day in Compton. Some say that was the first Crip on Crip beef in Compton. I don't know how true that is, but I heard that. Yeah, Palmer Blocks and Southside, that was the one of the ones.
Crimes were committed way before the Tupac shooting in Vegas. So this takes me back to the question: do you think Tupac would have put his hands on Baby Lane if he would have knew his background? Answer that in the comments. But law enforcement continue to start hearing the name Orlando Anderson, Baby Lane. His name will continue to be attached to weapons, murder, shootings. And when they look up his record, the proof is in the pudding. It takes him all the way back to when he was 16 years old.
Baby Lane from Southside, Baby Dre line from Front Street. My LOCs was like the same type of niggas. Rich, young, Crips, cold gangsters.
Shooting at police.
Both died very young.
Police officers. So they pretty much knew what this dude get into. Fast forward to Vegas. We actually gonna skip Vegas because we all heard this story 100 million times. But the Vegas shit just got his name even hotter. Come on now. He's on video getting jumped hours before the shooting. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Then after everyone leaves Vegas, everyone's back home, back in Compton, back to the norm. Shortly after, law enforcement, they got information from an informant that Orlando Anderson and several other Crips were in front of Keefy D's house with handguns and an AK-47. When police arrived, Orlando Anderson took off running, leading to a chase. They would arrest him in the house next door. Police found 2 shotguns, fully loaded AK-47s, fully loaded Mac-11s and handguns, and hundreds of rounds like these dudes was preparing for war. Now, I already know what y'all thinking, and I'm gonna answer that later. But Orlando Anderson is back on the streets. He probably spent a couple nights in jail, but he's back. And after that,
Imagine having this type of reputation, notorious like this, not being famous, real rich, nothing like that, and you only live like 22 years. Imagine that. This is a 22-year lifespan they describing, bro. It's a cold, grown young nigga, bro.
Just on 24/7 surveillance. This guy is being watched 24/7. September 18.
You turn my cousin Stace LOC out. I remember my auntie, his mama, like trying her best to keep her son away from this nigga right here. But this nigga took a liking to my cousin, cuz Keyway had my cousin on one. Stace LOC. Freddie, look, key ways out the cage. Oh, my cousin halfway out.
1996, Orlando Anderson house is under surveillance when law enforcement found something strange.
I think that's the house on Burris. Oh, my mama, that feel like it. Yep. I could be wrong. It's cuz little brother named Trayvon. I used to be in there. They used to be cracking, bro.
They saw a U-Haul truck in front of his crib, and they noticed that they were moving things out of his crib, with Orlando Anderson being the suspect to multiple murders. Why all of a sudden he's moving after the Tupac murder? But law enforcement immediately...
How that nigga dressed, how his pants is put up. He was young. I remember going to a Southside funeral around this time with my cousin, and remember getting to the funeral thinking like, where are all the Crips at? I'm talking about even the youngest niggas was dressed sharp, dress shoes, different kind of haircuts before gangbangers was wearing the weird haircuts. They was all fly. I'm like, I never seen no shit like that. Them niggas was different over there, Keyway.
Immediately followed Orlando when he starts to leave the location, and he noticed he's being followed, so he speeds up, leading to a high-speed chase, but Orlando Anderson would eventually get away. Now, September 21st was the start of the largest 10-day sweep that Compton had ever seen. Now, this warrant service involved several law enforcement agencies, sweeping up to 40 locations, involving 40 search warrants.
I think they got Baby Lane out of an apartment in Lakewood. So at that young age, not only did he own the property in his hood, he was buying that house on Burris. He had an apartment in Lakewood. When they raided, I think they knocked him in there. He had like 20-something bands in cash just in the spot as a young nigga back then.
18 warrants for murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder. Now, this sweep involved different sets. This sweep went all the way to Long Beach. You had Pyrus, you had Crips, you had the whole nine during this sweep. And when it comes to Orlando Anderson, you know he's going to run. Orlando Anderson was caught in this Lakewood apartment trying to escape from the second-story window, and he was caught with a 9mm. Now, you might question, why was Baby Lane able to walk the street after being caught with weapons on several occasions? Well, he was the prime suspect in the Tupac shooting, and that
looked like Vince Staples right there.
That's just the politics. And when it came to Albert Webb's murder, they just charged DeAndre Smith. They ain't charged Orlando. They were just like, hey, we got somebody. They didn't care who went down for it. But yeah, they was waiting for Vegas to step it up. And that's one of the main reasons why Orlando Anderson kept getting caught with heavy shit. Like, you look at us like, damn, he's caught with all types of heavy metal, and he's still being released back on the street, and he's not being charged. Like, you looking at all the metal he was holding, you looking at like at least 20, man. That shit was heavy. But Compton had Orlando and other suspects detained more than once. They were just waiting for Vegas to do their thing. But Vegas was dragging their feet. Las Vegas police were criticized for not following up on leads, including a witness in Tupac's entourage. But this is the type politics that no one talks about. Let's start with Vegas. Vegas dragged their feet. Vegas really wanted to leave it alone because they didn't want this shit attached to Vegas. Vegas is like one of the big tourist cities, so they didn't want gangbanging messing up their money. They didn't want people scared to come to Vegas. They didn't want the shows and all that shit to stop. They wanted the ball to keep rolling. And with Compton law enforcement playing into the politics, they kept letting Orlando Anderson go. They kept letting a dangerous man back into the streets, where he would have been locked far away from people. You know how many lives they would have saved if they would have kept Orlando Anderson behind bars during that time?
My nigga Spank, my nigga Chico. I know a few of these faces. Us the niggas been down at the bottom on the end. I don't know about the cuz in the middle. But that's Lil Spank and Chico on the down there. Squatted.
Would have saved his own life too, as we all saw the outcome. But that's all I got for tonight. Don't forget to hit up members22.com. Collect your fragrance, man. It's getting warm out.
Lil Stank, that was my nigga. I remember the last, I had that green colors on the gold ones. Yeah, man, that was a good little roll down memory lane for me personally, seeing a few of the homies, some of the history. And yeah, they got a pretty good idea of the Baby Lane that I knew from day uno. Rest in peace to the Keyway, Free Mike DeRoe, Eastside.
Let me get you on camera. Where you from?
California.
No, for real. You know, I'm serious though.
Watts,
I
baby.
know where you from though. Where you from?
Eastside PJ Watts.
I'm from Grace 2 Rock, nigga.
Right.
They call you, homie.
Big Slice.
Big Slice.
Yes, yes.
All right, nigga. They call me Puto, cuz.
Right.
And that person, big shout out to SPI, Spotter LOC. You know, I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.